So I just did a video on facing reality, or reality will face you, or deal with reality, or reality will deal with you. And I wanted to talk a little bit more. I guess this would be a follow-up to it, about this concept of don't worry, it'll get bigger. So Abraham Hicks, if you're not familiar with Abraham, it's channeled material brought forward by a woman named Esther Hicks. So the teachings of Abraham Hicks have been around for many years. And Abraham Hicks is one of the best teachers on law of attraction. I've been studying, following, just sort of generally aware of them for, wow, probably 12 years now. Could be more than that. God, I would have no idea how to even begin counting. But for quite a while. And they've got this concept that I really like, that I wanted to share with you and talk it through, because there's a couple of nuances to it. And it's the concept of don't worry, it'll get bigger. And what that means is life presents you whatever you need to grow. If you start with that basis and assume that everything is happening for our benefit, I know it doesn't always seem like it, but if you assume that everything is happening to our benefit, and we have things come up that should tune us into what we need to deal with. In other words, things come up because we need to, and I'm not talking about tiny things, I mean big things. Illnesses, you get fired from a job, your partner leaves you. Now, granted, it happens on big things and somewhat moderate things, I guess everything technically, but we notice it when it's big. And if we don't worry, it gets bigger. So, let me back up. So things happen. Everything in life is an opportunity to grow, to be a more loving person. And the circumstances, the experiences we have, help us bring to light our internal issues so that we can bring love to them, heal them, and move on. And when we do that successfully, the thing that brought that up in the first place doesn't need to come up anymore, because you've handled it. You handled your business, right? That's what we're here to do, is handle our business. And because life is busy and we've got a lot on our plates, and many of us we all have a capacity for change and for dealing with reality, right? Some years are better than others. Some years everything comes at once and you hit your limit. Some years are a little slower. But, life comes at us at different speeds. If you've got a small little, all right, the best way is just to give you examples. You're driving down the road and you hear a little sound coming from under the hood of your car that you've never heard before. So you pay attention to it and you don't know what the sound is. Well, if you ignore it and never go to a mechanic or investigate further, eventually suddenly your engine could blow up, and what could have been a small repair is a multi-$1,000 repair. That's a perfect example. If you ignore something small, it's fine. You're allowed to do that, no judgment, but it's probably going to increase, and it's going to become a bigger and bigger problem until you're forced to brownies already. Until you're forced to pay attention to it so that you can deal with it. I think you understand that basic concept. It also happens extensively in our bodies. We get small symptoms, a sore back, a headache. What causes a headache? Could be your diet, it could be your posture, it could be stress, it could be cancer. I mean, it could be anything, right? You don't know, but if you don't investigate, you're not going to find out. So if you were to ignore continuous headaches, they're probably going to get worse or become migraines. And then suddenly something else comes. So everything gets bigger. That's just the nature of life. Like if you've got something going on in your energy field, you've got to face reality. That's what the previous video is about. But it's okay, because don't worry, it'll get bigger. And Abraham Hicks says that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, meaning, yes, your problem is probably going to get more severe. And while, yes, we tend to judge that as a problem, something serious, a negative, Abraham doesn't make that same distinction. They won't say it's negative or positive. They'll just say it is. It's okay. Reality is reality. You got to deal with what is. And if you don't deal with what is, it'll get bigger. And since we're all sovereign entities for the most part, since we're all sovereign beings, we have the luxury of choosing the timeline in which we want to deal with our shit. If I don't want to deal with some shit this year, I can put it off till next year. Now, that's my decision to make, but it's also in my calculus when thinking about that, I have to factor in that it's probably going to get worse. So if I don't want to deal with it now because I don't have the money or the energy, or I'm under stress, or I'm sick, or I'm in a hurry, whatever, we're allowed to delay dealing with reality, but you've got to realize the delay comes at a cost. And it's not that the universe is punishing you, it's just the natural law of things. It is the law of attraction, that whatever energy gave impetus to that circumstance, it's going to continue to snowball and build or grow, since life just lifes, it gets bigger. It's going to do that no matter what. It's just the way the universe works. It's fine to delay dealing with reality, but you've got to be aware that it's going to get bigger. But I want to really emphasize this no judgment part. That doesn't mean you're screwing up. Doesn't mean you're making a mistake. It doesn't mean you're a loser for not dealing with reality, because we all do the best we can when we can do it. And if we could do better, we would do better. If we can do better, we do better, if that makes sense. And if you're not doing better, it's because you can't right now. And that applies to dealing with reality, facing reality, and dealing with what's truly in your field of experience. If for whatever reason you can't do it, doesn't mean you're a loser or a bad person, or that a negative thing is taking place. You have that right as a sovereign being, but just recognize you will have to deal with it eventually when the time is right for you. Another very small example, just because I see it all the time, is people who get a flat tire on the car. Maybe their tires were worn out and they ignored that. Okay, now they're taking a road trip. Boom, they have a blowout. So what do? Well, if you're lucky, you have a little donut spare in the trunk. So you pull over, you swap out the tire, and you limp along on the spare. I see people driving on those little donut spares for months instead of going to the tire shop. Now they have no backup, and they're going to have a major blowout and end up having to, be stranded somewhere potentially. Could be dangerous. They could get in a wreck. That is ignoring reality. So you're allowed to have bald tires. You're allowed to not budget for tires. You're allowed to have a blowout. You're allowed to put a donut on there. None of that is wrong or bad. But if you do all of that and operate in that way and put the donut on it and then drive on that little tiny donut, that, by the way, you're not supposed to go more than like 30 miles an hour on those little things, you're going to have a blowout, because those things are very temporary. If you ignore it, you're going to have a blowout, and then your problem's probably going to get bigger and more expensive and involve tow trucks and loss of time, maybe loss of your job for being late. Who knows what the repercussions could be? But I see that happening on the highway all the time. And it's like, what are you thinking? Unless you are literally on your way to a tire shop to go replace that damn donut tire, why are you driving on it? That's insanity. All right, you get the idea. So what in your life, here's my challenge for you. If you doubt what I'm saying, if you don't think everything gets bigger, well, then think about some of the crises that you've had in your life, big problems, and then ask yourself, were there signs of that coming that I ignored? And I guarantee, if you're honest with yourself, every really serious life, well, you would deem it serious, but every serious life experience you've had that kind of blew up on you, I bet you could name the signs that you ignored. So you don't have to prove it to me. You don't have to believe me. Prove it to yourself. Believe yourself. Recognize that this law exists, and then just get in alignment with it and operate with it, and quit ignoring things. Face reality. And if you don't, it's okay. It'll get bigger.